When my mom was 18, she had a one-night stand with a dude who then ghosted her. And a couple weeks later, she's like, oops, my boobs are sore. She finds out she's pregnant. By the way, protection was used. Okay, it was used. And I'm the baby who I guess really wanted to be here. So she contacts the dude and she's like, I'm pregnant. And he says, whoa, my parents will not pay for college if they find out that you're pregnant. She says, cool, I guess I'm gonna do this alone. So my mom decides to do it on her own, and so she raises me. Fast forward 4 years, and we moved to a city about an hour away from where all this happened so that my mom can go to college. My mom was like punk, hippie, alternative. We're in Tennessee, so it's conservative. Especially back then, the alternative crowd like found each other. His girlfriend, I don't want to say my dad because that's not what he is, so I'm gonna call him Dick. So Dick's girlfriend was on like the outskirts of that crowd. My mom and his girlfriend knew of each other. They were like friends of friends, that type of thing. My mom never said anything. She never said, your boyfriend is my daughter's dad. They were frequently at the same things, the same hangouts, and I was also there because my mom's a single mom. What else is she gonna do? So I was like the little cute punk 4-year-old running around in a tie-dye. His girlfriend also knew who I was and was around me too. Then Dick decides that he wants to marry his girlfriend, but he has something he wants to tell her before they get married because he's been keeping a little secret. I shit you not, before he could even get the words out, she said to him, Julia is your daughter. He looked at her and he was like, she told you, meaning my mom. She was like, no, she didn't. She looks just like you. Can you imagine dating someone and you keep seeing this little cute ass kid running around and you're just like, why does that look exactly like my boyfriend? That is wild. Anyway, he was never in my life. He never wanted to be in my life. He never will. But one time when I was 17, my mom told me that he wanted to meet me. And I was really scared, but obviously 17-year-old girl wants her dad to want her. So we decide to meet up and get coffee. And we had been texting a little leading up to that. And I was just, of course, very nervous, but like hopeful and excited. So we're talking and I'm like paying attention to all the ways that like I look like him, and I was like, oh my god, we hold our cup the same way. I thought it went really well and I was very excited, and I was like, holy shit, do I have a dad now? He never texted me again. He ghosted me. 2 weeks after I met him at the coffee place, I go to Kohl's, motherfucking Kohl's. I'll be damned if I don't see Dick just right there. I was like, oh my god, hey Dick, you want to know what he does? I bet you'll never guess. He looks at me and he acts like he has no idea who I am. He pulls this little number. Hello. And that's when I shut down all emotion. I didn't want to ever feel disappointment or anything ever again. So I shut it down until I turned like 30.
My boyfriend faked his own death and got away with it for years, so now I'm going to confront him. What's the worst way you've ever been dumped? Because this definitely tops the list for me. My boyfriend, let's call him Andrew, and I had been dating for about 3 years, and I thought we were the perfect couple. We were talking about getting married. We had just moved in together, and I thought he was the perfect man for me. He was like a man that was written by women. The worst thing about our relationship is that Andrew was an entrepreneur, so he was constantly traveling. He was gone for about half the month, usually a little more than half the month, but whatever. He was really successful and super passionate about his business, so I really didn't have that big of a problem with it. One day, I'm living my picture-perfect life with my dream man, and the next day, everything completely changes. Andrew was on a business trip, and I get a call from his mom, and she's absolutely hysterical on the phone. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong, and finally, she tells me that Andrew had been in an accident, and he didn't make it. My world absolutely crumbled. I was building my entire life with this man, and then one day, he's just gone. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I was just a shell of myself. Honestly, I just thought I was never gonna be the same ever again. Like, a part of me was now missing and I could never get it back. The funeral, there was a funeral, was extremely small. It was just his immediate family, a few close friends, me and my family. And I gave a eulogy. Yeah, I gave a eulogy for a man that was not dead. I bet you that narcissist watched all of the videos too, just seeing what everyone said about him. And then just like that, I had to figure out what life was gonna look like without him. I tried to stay in touch with his family over the years, but it was just hard. I loved them, but talking to them was really, really difficult because it just reminded me of how much I missed him. And just like that, 2 years has passed and he's still so present in my life. I think about him all the time. I still wear his old clothes to go to sleep. I have pictures of him everywhere. I talk about him all the time. Again, like he was my soulmate. Or so I thought. But a few days ago, my coworker came up to me and she was so excited to show me the photos she took on her recent trip to London. As we're flipping through the photos, one of them catches my eye. I was like, wait, stop, go back to that one. Can I see that? And immediately I start bursting out into tears because the photo is a photo of my coworker at dinner, and behind her at a different table is two men, and one of the men looks exactly like Andrew. So I'm just getting more and more emotional looking at this photo because he looks exactly like Andrew. And as I'm looking at the photo, I notice the tattoo on his arm. It is the exact tattoo that Andrew has. And it's a unique tattoo. I've never seen anyone else with it. And in that moment, I knew it was Andrew. And then I noticed on his wrist is the custom leather bracelet that I bought him for our 2-year anniversary. At this point, there's no doubt in my mind, this is Andrew. But I'm completely shocked. Like, how does one even react to that? Like, there is no correct reaction. I'm telling my coworker, I'm like, listen, I might sound crazy, but my boyfriend's not dead. He's alive in London. Which is insane because he used to travel to London for work all the time. At this point, I don't even know what my next steps are. Do I call his family? Does his family know? Am I the only one that doesn't know? Like, how deep is this con that he's running? So I decided it's time to start going detective mode because all I have is a photo of Andrew at this restaurant. So I asked my coworker what the name of it is because it's kind of this small mom and pop restaurant, and I called them up. I do an international call to this restaurant all the way in London. So I called the restaurant and I asked to speak to the manager, and the guy on the phone is like, actually, I'm the owner. I'm like, even better. And I tell him that I'm gonna email him over a photo because my friend and I were at dinner and both our phones died, and this really nice man at the table behind us offered to let us borrow his phone, and he ended up leaving and he forgot to get his phone back, and I'm trying to find a way to get it back to him. I was like, can you help me and let me know if you recognize him? He was like, of course, email me over the photo. So I do. I get his email, I email it over, and I'm waiting for him to receive it. And all of a sudden I hear him go, oh my gosh, yeah, it's Daniel. He and his wife have been coming here ever since we opened 5 years ago. They were one of my first customers. So, who's Daniel? Why does Daniel have a wife that he's been with for at least 5 years? I guess there were no other questions at that point. Those were them. I said, perfect, thanks. I'll bring the phone in and you can give it to him then, and just hung up because I was in complete shock at that point. The owner did give me his full name, so I was able to go and look him up online. There weren't a ton of photos of him. I think he was trying to stay off the radar, but there were about 3 pictures of him that I could find within the last 2 years. I never had any idea that he had a full double life in London, and I never had any idea that he wasn't actually dead. So I was just really going through a lot. The only thing that I could think to do is book a trip to London and show up right outside of his door. Kind of like Conrad in The Summer I Turned Pretty when he went to Paris, but less romantic. There's a lot more to this story, and I'm gonna figure it out. You've never seen a person book a plane ticket faster than I booked that plane ticket to London. I didn't even tell any of my friends or family that I was going. I think a part of me was just hoping that I was wrong and that it wasn't him. It wasn't until I was actually on the plane to London that I sat back and realized that I had just been running on adrenaline since I found out that Andrew was still alive. I had no plan. I was on a plane on the way to London and I had no idea how to find this man. I don't have any way to contact him. He's been dead to me for the past 2 years. The only thing I knew is that he was a regular at that restaurant where my friend ate and got a photo of him. So that was my only option. I was just gonna have to go there and hope for the best. So I touched down in London and I don't even go to my hotel first. I book it straight to the restaurant, and I got there literally 5 minutes before it closed. So when I get to the restaurant, there's a man standing at the front. I was like, hey, by any chance are you the owner of this restaurant? And he was like, yeah, I am. How can I help you? And I told him that I was the girl that he had spoken to on the phone about Daniel's phone. Daniel, yeah. Apparently, that's Andrew, my Andrew's real name. I told him that I wanted to return Daniel's phone to him himself so that I could thank him for letting me borrow it and just being such a nice guy. I was convinced he was gonna kick me out of his restaurant because I felt like I was coming off so weird, but instead he looked at me, he smiled, and he said, that is such a nice gesture. Lucky for you, Daniel comes in every single morning at 7 a.m. and he drinks his coffee right at that corner table over there. I was like, every day? He's like, yeah, like clockwork, every single day. which was absolutely crazy to hear because he did the exact same thing at the exact same time at a cafe near our house when we were together. So I go back to my hotel and I attempt to sleep that night, but obviously that didn't happen. I was just playing over and over in my head how this interaction was gonna go, but nothing was gonna prepare me for what happened. So I get to the restaurant the next morning, the minute it opens at 5:30 a.m. and I wait. I sit at a table near where his corner spot is. And as it gets closer and closer to 7, I realize that I cannot do this. I cannot confront him like this at 7 in the morning in this cafe. And also part of me was still hoping that this was all a mistake and it was just the craziest coincidence of my whole life. But it was like 6:50, so I had to think fast what I wanted to do. So what I decided was to take off the ring that I wore every single day. It was a ring that Andrew got me for my last birthday that we spent together, and it was super unique. He got it custom made and I loved it. And I went and I put the ring on that corner table where Andrew sits because I know that if it's Andrew, he'll see that ring and recognize it immediately. And then I left the restaurant and I found a spot where I could sit a little bit away, but I could still see the front door of the restaurant and I could see in the windows where that corner table was. And then at about 7:02 a.m., there he was. I saw him walking up towards the restaurant and I can't even describe how I was feeling when I saw him. Sick, like absolutely sick. To my surprise, he's not alone. He's with a woman, I'm assuming his wife, and not one, but 2 children. The older one looks to be about 7 or 8, and the younger one is a toddler. And based on the age of the older kid, yeah, it was born before Andrew and I were together. So he had a full child while he was with me for 3 years. So I watch all of them go inside and I'm just waiting to see what happens. But immediately the toddler grabs the ring off the table and then I see Andrew kind of fish it out of his hands. And when Andrew looks to see what's in his hand, I see him just go pale. His wife is talking to him. Now she looks concerned because he looks so concerned. They're just talking back and forth. And all of a sudden, I just see him gather his stuff and just leave. Just leaves his family. So he walks out the front door and he's looking everywhere trying to find me. But I did a good job. I was wearing a baseball cap and I had my book that I was reading. So I just kind of like covered my face a little bit. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, I was kind of like one of those stereotypical cartoon characters when they're trying to spy on somebody, but you know what? It worked. He didn't see me. And then he just leaves. He walks back down the road, left his family in the restaurant, and I knew it is Andrew. There's no doubt about it. His reaction to the ring told me everything that I needed to know. And about an hour and a half later, I get a text on my phone from a number that I didn't have with an address and a time, 7 p.m. Oh, he still remembers my number. How romantic. When I get to the restaurant that he sent me, I walk in and he's already there. Seeing him up close for the first time, I can't even describe how I was feeling. It was insane. I walk over to the table. He gets up and starts to go to hug me. I'm like, oh, do not touch me. No. And for what felt like forever, we're just sitting there staring at each other, not saying anything. I'm just looking at him because, I literally just thought that he was dead and now he's right here in front of me. The man that I thought I was going to marry. Finally, he says, so it's really good to see you. How have you been? How have I been? I said, well, I don't know if you've heard, but my long-term boyfriend actually passed away really unexpectedly a few years ago. And I've really been struggling with it, really been grieving. It's been hard. So not the best. What about you? That's when he says, yeah, you know, you deserve an explanation. I was like, yeah, you think? You think I deserve an explanation? And that's when he tells me the most insane thing I've ever heard in my entire life. He tells me that his wife and him have now been together about 8 years. But in the first couple years of their marriage, she got a job opportunity in London and she moved there with their oldest child. But he still had to wrap up business in the United States, so he couldn't move with her immediately full time. Then one night he meets me at a bar. I ask him his name and for some reason, he decides to say it's Andrew. And so it began, his whole separate life as Andrew, when, yeah, his real name all along was Daniel. And then after 3 years, all of the things with his business were settled, so he was ready to move to London full time. So that's when he had to end our relationship. I said, why didn't you just end our relationship? Why didn't you just break up with me? Like a normal person would have. You faked your death. He was like, it was the only way. I had to make sure that you never tried to contact me or find me or found out that I had a wife because I didn't want to destroy my family. Yeah, that's normal. He also said that he felt like he needed to fake his death because Andrew became such a big part of him and a part of his life that he loved. And he needed to go through the symbolism of Andrew dying so that he could just move on to being Daniel full time. What? I'm sorry. What? I was like, okay, so does your family know? Like, what's going on? He was like, yeah, no, everyone knows. You were the only one that thought I was dead. I said, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you were the only one. I was like, what about the funeral? What about everybody at the funeral? He was like, yeah, I mean, like, you and your family thought that I had passed, but yeah, everybody in my family and my friends, they knew. I'm sorry. I don't know if y'all have seen the show Jury Duty, where it's like the one guy and everyone else are actors. Like, that's what happened to me. Like, I thought that everybody was grieving this man. They're all sobbing. Great actor, apparently. Family full of amazing actors. Because they look distraught. Also, family of terrible people. Because how? How do you do that to somebody? He was like, I'm sorry. It just seemed to make the most sense in the moment. I was like, I'm sorry. I just don't know anyone who would think that that was the way to go about all of this. Then he says, I still care about you so much. I love you. I think about you every day. I check in on you every once in a while, see what you're up to. I was like, shut it. I don't want to hear it. So I get up and I start walking out because I have nothing else to say to this man and I don't want to hear another word come out of his mouth. And as I'm leaving, that's when I hear him have the audacity to say, so you're not going to tell my wife, right? I just look at him. I don't even respond. And then I leave. But to be honest, I'm a little conflicted if I should tell his wife or not. I know I should, but also they have a family and they seemed really happy when I saw them at the restaurant. So I don't know. Maybe I just go home and let him live on as Daniel and leave Andrew in the past.
Oh, let's start. Let's start from the beginning. I met this boy named Cash in 2023 and we started dating in October of 2023. He was really nice to me, and his ex had warned me about him, but he played it off as her being crazy, and I fell for it. I fell for that, yeah. There were red flags here and there, but I would say he faked it really well for a good amount of time. So fast forward to January, and he is with a friend, Kaden, and they are in the same room together while I am on FaceTime with Cash. I asked Cash, when was the last time you kissed a girl before we started dating? You know, just what? It's just a question, come on. He goes, oh, late November? Oh, what? Late November? We started dating in early October. So, quite the slip up, Cash. You just told on yourself. And he ends up fessing up to something that happened in November while we were dating. So Cash is staying with his cousin, and his cousin's name is Bo. We'll just say his name is Bo. And Bo and Cash decide to run a two-man. So Bo and his girl are on this side of the bed, and they start having... And Cash and his girl think, oh, well, it's only right if we do two, right? Apparently they didn't actually have... But he told me that they just made out, but I don't believe it. So that happens, and I end up finding out about it, and I stay. So fast forward to May of 2024. We had gone on a break because he was getting very mean, and I just needed some space. But we had plans to get back together. It was a break. We weren't broken up. Like, I wasn't seeing other people. And I'm laying there with my bags packed, ready to go, and I get a text message on my phone from Cash. And Cash says, hey, we might have to reschedule your trip. I have to go to Lander with Kaden because my grandma is making me. You're 17. Your grandma's not making you do anything, actually. So like a rational person, I say, okay, this is actually perfect. I will come to Lander because it's closer than Douglas anyways, and I'll just see you there and we can hang out there. And during this break, I had found out that he had kissed a girl from Lander, and this girl from Lander was best friends with Kaden, his best friend's girlfriend. So he had kissed her and he had her, and I was still willing to get back together with him. But obviously it was fishy that he was going to the same town as her and canceling on me. So I shut off my location and I go to catch what this man is up to. I get to Lander and he convinces me that he is staying at Kaden's grandparents' house. So we hang out before he goes and hangs out with Kaden. We have, and yeah, I drop him off. That night, I am with a friend, and he wants to go over to Caden's girlfriend's house for his own reasons. And so I take him out there not thinking Cash is going to be there. I get there, and Cash's truck is out front, and I just kind of knew that he was there with this girl. This girl's name is Liv, and I just knew. But I didn't want to go inside, and I didn't want to start problems, so I waited for my friend to come back outside for a long time. And he never came back outside. And they had no service where they live, and I'd been waiting for probably 30 minutes. So I go inside to get him. So, it's a bunch of teenagers hanging out. I'm pretty sure I can go in and get my friend. I walk in, and right as I walk in, Cash and Liv come out of a bedroom together and lock eyes with me. Mind you, me and Cash had just had probably 3 hours before that. So at first I'm pretty chill, just trying to get Caleb, and then I just realized that this is so wrong. You're still pretty much my boyfriend. We're not broken up, and you're with another girl. And the love-struck teenage girl that I was, I said, if you come with me tonight, and you leave her, and you come stay with me, your girlfriend, versus this girl you've known for a month, I will forget about all of this, and I will forgive you, and I will never bring it up. That's how down bad I was for this man, okay? And he says, no, Caden won't let me. I look at Caden, and I said, can Cash come with me? And Caden says, I don't care. And Cash still chooses not to come with me. So he wanted to stay with Liv. And yeah. So at this point, I'm in tears, and they're like, you need to leave. And I'm not making a huge scene, but I'm very embarrassed because they don't understand what's really going on here. They have no idea. So Cash walks me out of the door. And mind you, I'm shaking right now just thinking about this. Oh my God. He walks me out the door, and I go home that night alone. Later on during the summer, he tries getting back together with me, and I'm in for it. But this fucking Liv girl is lingering everywhere. She's everywhere. He's adding her all the time, talking to her all the time. And y'all are gonna say I should have just let him have her, and I should have, but I was in love. If y'all have been in love before, you know. So fast forward, and he is going over to Laramie while still juggling me at the same time. We're still on a break at this point, probably just broken up. And he's still juggling us, whatever, going back and forth between us. And while lying to her and telling her that I'm not in his life and being like, do you want me to unadd her? Do you want me to unadd her? On the other side, asking me if I want him to unadd her. And he's living a double life here. I'm thinking he's not talking to this girl. So come state fair. Mind you, all summer, I was so broken up about this because his mom would tell me when he would go to Lander. And whether he would say it was just for Caden or not, I knew it was for Liv, and they were spending the night together every time. He still says they haven't slept together though, and I know that's bullshit. But anyways, so come state fair, and him and I are hanging out at his house. And this girl is in town. And I knew she was in town, but I didn't think they were seeing each other. And she's in town, and she finds out that I'm at his house. Him and I had just had, and we were cuddling on his couch, and he opens his phone, and he shoves me off of him. He says, how the fuck does she know you're here? I said, who? What? What's going on? And I know it was this girl from Douglas who I was friends with at the time, who turned out to be an awful person. She is nasty, but she had told her. And Cash was like, you need to leave my house right now. And I was like, why? What is going on? He was like, I need to make a few phone calls. I need to FaceTime her and show her you're not here. He's telling me his plan. He's telling me. And I have a lot of childhood trauma, and I was getting screamed at, and I just kind of freaked out. I just kind of froze up, you know what I mean? What do you do? So I'm sitting like this, just crying. And he likes to say I was on my phone, but I wasn't. I was looking at the ground, so believe who you want. And he comes and he grabs me by the shoulders and he's trying to throw me around to get me out of his house. And I'm like, no, you're gonna tell me what's going on because you've been using me all summer and now I'm starting to see what's really happening. And he ends up grabbing me in all sorts of ways. He's screaming at me. Oh, this is the part. I have my knees up like this and he gets this close to my face and he goes, how the fuck does she, like, punching my knees in my face to get me to tell him how she knows I'm there.
It's nearing Christmas time. I thought I'd give the story time of the Christmas when we were last kind of in contact with my mother-in-law, which was 2 years ago. So we'd kind of been going less and less contact since like October or November. And we just kind of tried to see if we could just give them the memo that we just wanted to go low contact and see if they would just stop bothering us. Obviously that didn't work and we had to go a hard no contact, but at the time we were trying. My mother-in-law really wanted to give us a gift. And you have to understand this about my mother-in-law is that she loves gift giving, but it's not like in a nice way. I don't know how to say this. She likes gift giving to make herself feel better. So she'll give like really dumb gifts that you don't want or things you explicitly say that you don't want and not get you things that you say that you do want. And then she expects like immense gratitude from you. And if you're like, oh, this isn't what I asked for, like, oh, I actually don't need this, then it's like tears and like so much manipulation. Like, how could you? I provided for you. Da, 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 da. So she likes to give gifts to make herself feel better, if that makes any sense. She told us that she bought some gifts for us for Christmas. And we were like, hey, actually, we don't need anything for Christmas. Thank you so much. Like, you could just return them. Don't worry about it. And she was like, no, I want to give them to you. Like, okay, well, if you want to give them to us, that's fine. You can just drop them off at our door. She was like, oh, no, I'm so worried that they're going to get stolen. We lived in this second-story apartment in Provo, Utah. Nobody was stealing packages. We're like, just drop it off. We're going to be coming home later tonight, and we'll just pick it up when we get there. No one will steal it. We'll have our neighbors keep an eye out. She couldn't really argue with that because we were like, our neighbors will keep an eye out on it for us. But it was very clear that she like wanted to see us to give us these packages, and we didn't want to see her. So she drops off the gifts and we get home and we open them up, and I'll tell you what they had. She got my daughter some clothes. Now, that's totally fine, but my daughter was in 3T. I had gone shopping with her like 3 months prior, and she found these PJs, and she's like, what size is so-and-so? And I was like, oh, she's 3T at this point. She's wearing 3T. I had texted that to her. I told her that in person. I told her so many times, this is her size. She is 3T. Do not get anything smaller. She doesn't need anything smaller. I open up these clothes. There's an 18-month sweater. She just doesn't fit. Not even close. Like, way too small. Like a small 18-month. And then a size 6 dress. And I was like, what? Do you not know? Like, do you not even care to remember what size your granddaughter is? That you would give her both something that's 18 months and also 6T? Like, in what world would either of those items fit? And in what world, if one of them fit, would the other one fit? That's such a strange array of clothing sizes. And then the last thing she got is a decorative rat. And she's like, your daughter will love playing with this. It was a rat. I don't know how to explain it. Like a decorative, like a flat-bottomed, like rat. And it was something that you'd buy at like, maybe like Hobby Lobby. It was not a toy. Like it was not cuddly or like soft or squishy or anything. Like it was something you'd set on like a counter. And we were like, why did you get a decorative rat and try to pass it off as a toy? Just gonna leave it. We were like, you know what, whatever. These gifts are so strange and we don't know why she would give them to us. We didn't want them. We told her that we didn't want them and she still insisted on giving them to us. We'll just let it be water under the bridge. But then she kept texting, and then my father-in-law texted and was like, you haven't thanked her for the gifts. And I was like, no. You don't get to feel good about this random assortment of crap that you stuffed in a bag. You don't get to make yourself feel better by not remembering the size of your grandchild, by not looking back in your texts and seeing, oh, she's a 3T right now. You don't get to like get praise for being a bad grandma, like an objectively bad grandma. So We were like, if you want thanks that much, then, you know, I think she had another like toy in there or something. We're like, thanks for the toy. And we dropped everything back off at our house. We're like, we hope you can return these. As you probably clearly know, these don't fit. And we didn't want the decorative rat for our daughter to play with. It freaked her out. And it did. It freaked her out. So hopefully you can get your money back for those. And Merry Christmas. Like one of the last texts we ever sent to her.